Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing good. Let's continue with the story of the Coat of Many Colors Part 3, Famine and Journey to Egypt. Now that the famine has spread the whole country and even Jacob's household has left with no food grains. Let's read Genesis 42 verse 1 and 2. When Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" And he said, "Indeed, I've heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us there, that we may live and not die." So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to Egypt to buy grains. But Jacob did not send his youngest son Benjamin to Egypt because he was afraid to lose him. And when they arrived to Egypt, they bowed down to him with their face to the ground, and they could not remember Joseph. But Joseph, as soon as he saw them, he remembered that it was his brothers. But he pretended like he doesn't know them, and he speaks to them very rudely and also accused them of being a spies. And he kept his brother Simon in the custody for 3 days. But he sent the rest of his brother with grains and with their money back to Canaan, but left behind his brother Simon, demanding that they should bring his youngest brother Benjamin to Egypt to prove that they are innocent. When they returned Canaan, they told the whole story to Jacob, his father. But Jacob was not ready to send his son Benjamin to Egypt to bring Simon back. It's not because he doesn't love Simon. It's because he was afraid to lose Benjamin, since he has lost one of his favorite sons, Joseph. But then, as the days goes by and as the famine continues, the family was again ran out with grains. So this time, Jacob reluctantly sent his son Benjamin with them to buy more grains from Egypt and also to bring his son Simon. When Joseph saw his brother Benjamin, he got emotional, and it is said that he cried alone in his private chamber. And also he asked his steward to fill their sack with grains, but secretly put his silver cup in Benjamin's sack. His brother left Egypt early in the morning, but not when they have not traveled very far from Egypt. He sent his steward to accuse them of stealing his silver cup. And they searched everyone's sack, and they found a silver cup in Benjamin's sack. And so they were brought back to Egypt. And as a punishment, he told them Benjamin will remain in Egypt as his slave, and the rest will go back to Canaan to their fathers. At this, his brother Judah come forward and plead for Benjamin's life, saying he will remain in Egypt as a slave instead of Benjamin. Joseph, seeing this, got overwhelmed and could not hide any longer, so he revealed himself to his brother. Let's read Genesis 45 verse 3 and 4. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Does my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come near to me." And they came near. And he said, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life." And Joseph told them to go back to Canaan and bring his father to Egypt. At first, Jacob could not believe the story the sons were telling about Joseph. But then he said, "It's enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." Let's read Genesis 46, 1 through 6. So Israel took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night and said, "Jacob, Jacob." And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "I am God, the God of your father. Do not fear to go down to Egypt. for I will make of you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I will also surely bring you up again, and Joseph will put his hand on your eyes. Then Jacob arose from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried their father Jacob, their little ones, and their wives in the carts which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. So they took their livestock and their goods which they had acquired in the land of Canaan, and went to Egypt, Jacob and all his descendants with him. When Joseph received a news that Jacob is in Goshen, he prepared his chariot and went up to meet his father, and they have a happy reunion, and they wept together. Then Joseph brought his 5 brothers and father to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh gave them the permission to live in the best land Goshen. Jacob was 130-year-old when he came down to Egypt. As the famine was so severe that they've given out all their money and livestock in exchange of food to Joseph, and they've left with no money, no livestock, except their lands and their bodies. Let's read Genesis 47 verse 20 till 26. Then Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for every man of the Egyptians sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. So the land became Pharaoh's. 21. And as for the people, he moved them into the cities from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other end. 22. Only the land of the priests he did not buy, for the priests had rations allotted to them by Pharaoh, and they ate their ration which Pharaoh gave them. Therefore they did not sell their lands. 23. Then Joseph said to the people, Indeed, I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. 24. And it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh, 4/5 shall be your own as seed for the field and for your food for those of your households, and as for your little ones. 25. So they said, you have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servants. 26. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day that Pharaoh should have 1/5, except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. Jacob lived in Egypt for 17 years. When his end days was near, he let Joseph swear that when he died, his body will be taken up to Canaan and buried in their burial place. And after some time, Jacob falls sick, and so Joseph, with his 2 sons Manasseh and Ephraim, went up to visit Jacob. Jacob was very old, but he was so happy and pleased to see his 2 sons. He adopted Joseph's 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, as his own son, and made them a part of the 12 tribes of Israel. As Jacob is dying, he gathered all his sons and prophesied over them and blessed them and breathed his last. After 70 days of mourning, his body was carried back to Canaan and buried at the cave named Machpelah. Joseph lived out the rest of his life in Egypt, and when his end days was nearing, he said to his friends, let's read Genesis 50 verse 24 to 26. And Joseph said to his brethren, I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. Then Joseph took an oath from the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here. So Joseph died being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So this is the story of Joseph, who wore the coat of many colors. Joseph's story taught us that even if we face betrayal accusation, rejection, and humiliation. If we are true to God and if we stay faithful to God, no matter what, He will prove them wrong. He will lift us up. His story shows that God is in control of everything and can turn bad things into good to those who love Him and trust Him.